Welcome back to my channel, everyone. This is an update from my last video on the dumb criminal case where two men in Carlow, Ireland, just southwest of Dublin, dragged a dead guy inside a local post office and tried to collect on his pension payout. There are a few new details about the case I am going to share, and I will also be doing a recap from the first video to catch you up on this bizarre, true case that happened not even a week ago and is still an ongoing investigation. Reports say that the entire community, including law enforcement, are in shock about what happened, and the mayor said it was mind-boggling that anyone could do something like this and compared it to a Hitchcock movie. But before I start, I want to correct a mistake I made on the first video. When I stated that this happened last Friday on January 21st, I incorrectly said it happened in 2020, but I meant 2022. However, I did get it right when I added the text of the actual date to the screen. I just voiced it wrong. Now that I have established the truth, let's get past it and move along. This is a very bizarre case that made international headlines when it happened last Friday on January 21st, 2022, when a pair of suspects in Carlow, Ireland, walked into Hosey's post office with a dead man in tow, intending to collect funds from his pension. There still isn't a great deal of information concerning this incident as of yet, but still shocking to say the least. Any new details I come across, I will keep you up to date, so stay notified and ring that bell. Just to recap, the two suspects brought in a deceased man. They propped and held him in an upright position to pass him off as living and dragged him into a post office in Ireland to try and collect his pension. I learned that this particular post office in Ireland is a location people come to and collect their pension funds. Because this took place during mid-morning around 11 a.m., they were seen by many witnesses who said they saw the two men drag the deceased into a general store and then into the local post office. Even a neighbor who lives by the post office claimed her daughter saw the two men drag the deceased from their car. Earlier that same day, one of the men went in alone but was told the recipient must be present to collect. Perhaps it did not dawn on him that the pensioner would also have to be living and breathing. The man tried to excuse himself by telling a postal worker that the pensioner wasn't feeling well and asked him to go and collect on his behalf. Now keep in mind that was plan A, and where the plan should have stopped. But these two geniuses were straight up stupid when they created a ridiculous contingency plan. For them, plan B went out the window the second they made plan A. Only, plan B was something straight out of the Twilight Zone. After the man was rejected the first time, he left but returned later, along with another man and the deceased man, who was being propped up between them as they dragged him across the floor of the post office in front of many stunned witnesses. Once the people became suspicious and alerted the staff, the two men knew they were busted and quickly abandoned plan B, dropped the body to the floor, and fled the scene, which ended up being plan C. Soon, one of the men came forward and confessed to police that they both knew Mr. Doyle and that he was alive when they left his home after picking him up to head back to the post office. As of now, the Irish police are not willing to talk much about the case until the autopsy report comes out to determine how Mr. Doyle died. It could be weeks before we know the exact cause of his death. Here are some of the new details on this case as of yesterday. It has been determined that the deceased man, a 66-year-old retired painter, Pater Doyle, I think I said his name right this time, was alive earlier that day and that he did not suddenly die at the post office that morning around 11 a.m., which was one of the issues authorities were trying to determine. The police were not sure when the case first broke, but now they are saying he did not die on the premises, something they originally claimed. If that cannot be ruled out, then these two men couldn't have killed him and therefore would not be charged criminally. As of now, with this new information, they are awaiting the autopsy reports to determine the cause of death. Because the medical examiner was able to establish an estimated time frame of death, that he died within minutes somewhere between leaving his home and en route to the location where he was found dead, the new findings now show that he was never alive while at the post office. The only ones who know for sure, the two men, are most likely lying about him being alive when they picked him up. Along with the circumstances of his death, the motive seems clear, that these two men were seeking pay dirt. This case seems very wishy-washy. Since it has now been determined that he was already dead when they entered the location, makes me suspect it is possible they may have done something to him to cause his death. even though the coroner found no signs of trauma to his body and ruled out foul play. He could have been poisoned or even smothered in his sleep. Being asleep doesn't make you dead, unless someone takes a pillow while you're sleeping and smothers you, or makes you a cup of coffee laced with arsenic. The coroner's findings that he was alive at some point that day could have meant he died right before his body was taken out of the home. Toxicology results take weeks to come back, and he has only been dead for a few days. The two unnamed subjects, both in their 30s, were connected to the deceased in some way, but that has yet to be revealed. One of the suspects told authorities, and apparently he is sticking with his story, that Mr. Doyle was alive when they left his home. The man is not telling the whole story because all the reports say is that he said Doyle was alive when they picked him up, and after that, nothing. If the witnesses are claiming they saw the two men dragging what appeared to be a lifeless body into the post office with his feet dragging the floor, then he was already dead before arriving, because the coroner has now determined he was never alive while inside that facility. While it's an active and puzzling investigation, potential charges against the two suspects who were caught red-handed and seen by many people that Friday morning could face charges of attempted fraud and failure to notify authorities of a death. As of yet, their names have yet to be released and no arrests have been made. And no reports of how the three knew each other have been publicly announced either. It wouldn't surprise me one bit to find out these men are related to Mr. Doyle, like nephews or something. I feel like if they were his sons, that would have been reported immediately, but who knows? Guess we will just have to wait and see. So that's going to do it for now. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this case. And stay notified as I keep up with this really super weird story so you will be alerted to any new updates.